To start off, I want you to put 4 points on your page. Almost like you're creating a graph here. Points above, below, to the left, and to the right. We're then going to connect them in a triangle here. Then let's connect them up the middle. That's going to be kind of like the corner of our little cabin. And then let's draw 2 more lines here, about 1/3 of the way up that middle line. Now we can draw 2 vertical lines. Again, about 1/3 of the way up each left and right side line. That's creating the roof of our cabin, or sorry, the sides of our cabin. And next we have to create the roof. And that's an easy thing to do. All we need to do is connect these lines up, creating another triangle. Kind of visualize how this roof might look now, right? If we kind of draw over these lines a little darker. We've effectively created this 3D cabin viewed from above. Now let's erase the guidelines that we created here. And the one thing to keep in mind when you're drawing buildings like this is to always think about realism. You know, have you seen a lot of cabins or houses that have this roof shape, or what other features might a little cabin like this have? Well, one could be some little gabled windows on the roof. So I'm going to create a little square here, drawing lines that go parallel up, kind of halfway up the roof to the right. And I'm going to connect those lines with a line that, if we extended it, would connect with the left side of the triangle that we just erased. Next, drawing a little triangle on the back, and then now we can connect the top of that triangle that we drew to the right-hand side of the page. If we continued this line back, it would meet the right-hand side of the diamond that we've drawn. And continue, I'm going to draw a line up here where that gable might meet the roof, and then going to connect it up here. We've drawn a space for the window up here, and now we can add an outline of those windows. And remember, these horizontal lines generally go downward. We've drawn this diamond here, and with the walls, you'll see that they go vertical, straight up and down. But if we wanted to have more of an angle, or if we wanted to continue this building down into the ground, these lines would eventually meet as they recede away from us, the viewer. However, for our purposes, we can keep the vertical lines in our drawing going straight up and down on the page. That means when we draw windows or a door down here, we can keep the sides of the door straight up and down, but the top of the door will lead out towards that left-hand side of our diamond. That's we draw that door shape in perspective. The same goes for windows. Maybe we can add some nice large kind of picture windows here on the right-hand side with lines that lead up to the right-hand side of the diamond. Let's add some nice little tiny windows here on the left and right of our door. I think any little cabin needs as much light as possible. We want to make it nice and cozy, but also bright. And there we have the basic outline of our cabin. Now we're looking at the cabin from above, and unless it's in some weird sort of dreamscape, there's going to be objects and shapes and natural elements surrounding our lovely little cabin. We can start by kind of roughing up the bottom here with some up and down lines to kind of infer that there's some foliage or grass around the cabin. And then let's add a little deck here that goes out in front of the door. Now, remember the horizontal line here is going to aim back towards that left-hand side of the diamond. We're seeing this deck from above. And let's add some stairs kind of going down this way. Now let's leave those stairs for now and add some, rock elements and some other landscape features around this cabin. Maybe it's on the top of a hill. From the left-hand side of the cabin, I'm drawing some natural kind of curving lines that go downwards. Don't worry about making these straight. In fact, we kind of want them to be uneven, making it look like the cabin's on the side of a hill. You'll notice that the line here starts behind the cabin because unless the cabin is right on the edge of the hill, we'd see a little bit visible to the left and to the right. Because we're on a kind of an aerial vantage point, we're able to see a little bit on the other side of the cabin. If we do the same on this side, I can kind of continue that downwards. And that means that we can continue this stair set downwards as well. There's another little landing here, and then you'll notice that these stairs are getting closer together and smaller as they go down the side of the mountain. I'm gonna kind of fade them out there. Let's draw some vertical lines here. When you're drawing a rocky hillside like this, when you want to make it three-dimensional, what you can do is start with the outline like we did here, but then also starting to just add some lines that kind of come into the interior of the drawing. These kind of naturally hook onto little outcroppings or little irregularities in the mountain that we've already drawn, and they give us a space where we can add some outcroppings, some other rocks, some other natural features that add some interest and dynamism to the scene. Before we add some shading, let's think about a background we could add here to the cabin. Since we're looking downwards, we know we're going to see some of the landscape that might be behind this cabin, and maybe that's going to be mountains for us and a nice little tree line. So I'm drawing a jagged up and down tree line here behind the cabin, and I'm going to fade it out to the left-hand side here. We want to keep this composition kind of composed in the middle of our drawing. We don't add too much detail or too much darkness on either side of the cabin because we want the cabin to kind of be the main focus here. Let's turn the pencil on our side and just add some really light hatching, some shading here. Because the trees are farther away from the cabin, they can be a little bit darker. We aren't going to see individual trees. I love this paper. It's a watercolor paper from Strathmore, and it kind of gives some nice texture to areas of shading like this. And again, I'm kind of fading out my hatching as I get out to the left and right hand side of the drawing. Now, we know these are trees because we said they are, but we need to add some other contextual clues that kind of let the viewer know what we're looking at. That could be maybe a little mountain that kind of goes up on the other side of our drawing. You can even layer some other mountains in here. And then we need to think about light. So if I'm going to shade in this side of the cabin, that means that the light is coming from the left-hand side. It means there'd be some area in shadow here behind the cabin as well, area that the light has casted shadow on. That also means that we can shade in some of the right-hand side of our rocky outcropping. I'm going to shade in a little bit of the mountain as well. You often see mountains when they are viewed from far away. Often a face or two of the mountain are in shadow. And with the sun coming from the left-hand side, we're going to pretend that a lot of this mountain here is in shadow. Let's add some final details to the cabin itself. I'm going to add a line going across the window, as well as some vertical boards here, and some vertical parts to these windows. And because we're seeing the windows from an angle, that means that the left-hand or the right-hand side of the interior of the window is going to be up here a little thicker, because we're able to see more of it from the angle we're looking at. We also can kind of darken in the lines of our cabin to make it stand out a little bit more. Add some horizontal boards here, kind of give it some texture. And maybe some texture and stone on our path. You can see this is a very simple and quick little drawing, but we've really tackled some of the fundamentals of, aerial perspective. It's a really fun perspective to draw from. It can teach you a lot about the scene that you're looking at and kind of give a sense of scale and adventure. Hopefully you learned something today. If you did, follow me, drop a like, and I'll see you in the next drawing tutorial.